All right, good morning, committee. We're going to go ahead and get started. First item on the agenda, are there any bill introductions this morning? Representative Ballard.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On behalf of the governor, I am introducing RS 0243 concerning health and health care relating to health insurance coverage, expanding medical assistance eligibility.
All right, committee, you've heard the bill introduction. Is there a second? Second by Representative Hoy. All those in favor of the bill introduction say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes appear to have it. Ayes do have it. And I do have confirmation from leadership that this will be not housed in appropriations. So just to let everybody know that we will not be having a hearing on that particular bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any further bill introductions this morning? All right, seeing none, we'll go ahead and move on to our budget report out so we can get caught up on those. So I'll now turn it over to Chairperson Mosier with the Agriculture and Natural Resources Budget Committee, and I believe that you'll be starting with the Kansas Department of Commerce. Chairperson Mosier.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So quickly, the Department of Commerce is a cabinet-level agency with the mission to empower businesses and communities using strategic resources to realize prosperity in Kansas. So let's go over one thing I might ask that you keep handy during this conversation is this additional sheet that you were given. It's regarding commerce and the 2026 budget. Everybody should have that in your pile. And then also just keep your budget committee report handy. So going over 2025, the agency requests a revised estimate of $290 million, including $59 million SGF, 324 FTEs. The revised estimate is an all funds increase of $12.8 million or 4.6 above the amount approved. These increases basically come from increases in federal funding for the State Small Business Credit Initiative, Community Development Block Grants, broadband grants, retaining employment and talent after injury or illness. And then also they requested $3 million for the Sunflower Summer Program, and that also includes an increase of $1.5 million from special revenue funds for engineering graduating incentives. The Special Committee on Legislative Budget concurs with the agency's revised estimate with the following adjustments. They removed the $5.9 million for the above listed requests, and they deleted the $3 million for the Sunflower Summer Program, as well as deleting 7.5 FTE positions. The A&R Budget Committee concurred with the recommendations with the following adjustments. We heard yesterday and added 5.8 million SGF for Bombardier to enhance their infrastructure to meet a high-profile military project. In a nutshell, that's what that is. The governor recommended Bombardier requested 6. The governor recommended 5.8. We went with the governor's recommendation and added 5.8 to the budget. We also, in looking at their EDIF, their 2025 reappropriations was almost $6 million. The agency stated that they had almost 3 of that spent, so we added back $3 million of the EDIF. They were requesting almost 6 to restore those reappropriations that were already spent in 2025. And then on page 3, you'll notice that language was added. It didn't affect $1, but it was an update. And with that, I will stand for questions for 2025.
All right, thank you, Chair Mosier. So the first question that I have is you put back $3 million for the reappropriation. So is that 2.9 that's going back into the balance of the EDIF?
Yes. That's because that was all EDIF money. You know, they requested 5.9 and we're giving them back 3. in 2025.
So 3 million is going back to specific funds within the EDIF.
Okay, so that 3 million that we restored goes back to specific funds in commerce in EDIF. And then the balance, we agreed to go ahead and delete like the LBC did.
Okay. I just wanted to make that clarification. Could you elaborate a little bit more on the Bombardier Defense Project? And I guess I'm wondering in fiscal year 2025 to add $5.8 million, which again, you know, we've been discussing this with previous budgets, that with, you know, basically when this budget bill is most likely signed and put into law, would they be able to allocate the $5.8 million with basically 2 months remaining in the fiscal year?
They stated that they wanted to, that all systems are go and they wanted to get started on this and they would expend those funds before the end of the fiscal year. They want to get a head start.
All right. And then in regards to the MRO, or the maintenance, repair, and overhaul, there was language authorizing the reappropriations for the maintenance, repair, and overhaul for Salina and Topeka airports. But I don't, Wichita is not mentioned, or,
This fund, yeah.
Okay, so this is specifically for this fund and included Salina and Topeka.
okay. Any other questions for fiscal year 2025? Seeing none, Chair Mosier.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Okay, please have this sheet handy and buckle up. Everybody have this sheet? The single sheet that shows that commerce additions and subtractions. Okay, 2026, they requested 190 million, including 840,000 roughly in expenditures, 326 FTEs. The revised estimate is a decrease of 80.7 million, which is almost 30% below the fiscal year 2025 approved amount. The revised estimate is an SGF decrease of 64 million, and these decreases are primarily attributable to the deletion of one-time SGF projects, ARPA projects, and special revenue fund projects. The agency also anticipates receiving less federal community development block grant funding from the federal government. And then you can read their enhancements that they asked for: Sunflower Summer Program, World Cup marketing, healthcare upskilling, Mobile Visitor Center, Kansas Arts Commission, Transparency Database, Global Growth Program, the Kansas Kids Magazine, and also a broadband grant analyst position. The agency request also includes expenditures in broadband grants and the Job Creation Program. The Special Committee on Legislative Budget concurs with the agency's revised estimate with the following adjustments. They deleted 6.3 million EDIF and 3 FTEs for the enhancements that were requested. They deleted 4.3 million EDIF for various programs for fiscal year 2026, and they deleted 6.5 FTE positions. The A&R Budget Committee concurs with the LBC's recommendations for the following adjustments. So please turn to page 4 of your Commerce Committee report, and also have your other sheet handy. So the first change that the Budget Committee did, number 1, we deleted 500,000 SGF for micro internships. You will find that at the bottom of your summary page. Number 2, we deleted 200,000 SGF for Kansas Sports Hall of Fame. Again, can be found at the bottom of the summary page. And these 2 deletions were part of Commerce's 7.5% reduced resource package. So they went through and agreed that that money could come out. Number 3, find Level Up Kansas on, that is a new request. The committee voted to include this in appropriation, and Level Up Kansas provided a presentation to the committee. 32,000 plus Kansans have signed up for information. 5,450 have requested and received information about educational opportunities, and almost 600 are now working with a Kansas community or technical college. And that doesn't include those that inquired help and then went off and you know, got their GED and did their own thing. So Level Up Kansas is a program that helps roughly age 25 to 40-year-olds get a degree or get some training to get into the workplace for specialized careers. So that amount was added to the fiscal year 2026. On number 4, the committee voted to add $1 million SGF for the KC Bio Hub for 2026. This is a consortium of 110 entities in higher education and research. It runs from Kansas through the Kansas City metro area and into Missouri. We're like the breadbasket of the country when it comes to agriculture research, those types of things. But there's a lot more to it than that. So the committee again felt like this was a worthwhile investment to allow them to try to draw down federal dollars. Is that right? Yeah. So we approved the $1 million with the language that if they don't receive the federal grants that they apply for, this money does not go to them. So there's a clawback and an estimated decent return on investment. Number 5. We moved to add 73,000 SGF to continue preparations for the semi-quincentennial, which will happen in 2026. The full-time position has already been in place for a year. That 73,000 will be for that position and travel and associated expenses as Kansas prepares for the 250th anniversary of our country. Number 6. The committee voted to transfer $1 million SGF to the Department of Commerce for a Purple UAS Certification Innovation Grant for 2026, split equally between K-State Salina and NIAR. This is basically a drone program to get away from China building our drones, to have a study done and for Kansas to be ahead on drone development, and then not only the software but the actual parts you know, being made in the USA so that we can have our own drones. So number 7, if you will refer on your little single pager to the Sunflower Summer Program, we this is another reduction that Commerce found in their budget, and so 2007 has $3.5 million in the program. Commerce said they could work with $1 million, and so number 7, we deleted $2.5 million from the Commerce EDIF proposal for the Sunflower Summer Program. Number 8. If you look at the Love Kansas line on your single sheet, we deleted $1.5 million EDIF for Love Kansas. So that project program will be eliminated. The number 9, if you look at the Small Business Research and Development, which is the bottom one on your single sheet, we deleted $500,000 from that EDIF proposal. So that will be zeroed out. Number 10, if you look at the Emergency Heal Program, that's just up a couple lines from the bottom. Commerce actually agreed to delete that program, so we took those EDIF funds back. Number 11, we added $35,977 EDIF for Strong Military Bases Program for 2026, and that's the fifth one down. So, and there again, yeah, Commerce agreed to, you know, that amount that was in their base allocation. Turning the page to page 5 of your budget committee, number 12, we added 1.1 million EDIF for broadband development. So where it says broadband, we took it out. Commerce felt very strongly that they wanted that, and they were willing to make concessions in other areas that you've seen to get that money back. So we put that Commerce EDIF proposal back in, and the department, like you can read there, they've said that they're unable to use federal funds in lieu of the EDIF based on the timing of the funding and the process itself. So number 13, this is an addition that the committee made, $1 million EDIF for healthcare upskilling training program for 2026. This program would provide Kansas hospitals, health systems, long-term care facilities, and workforce intermediaries with funding to support existing training programs, establish new training programs, or partner with educational sources to establish education and training programs for health professionals. For example, in a rural hospital, if you've got lab techs and they do what they do, but then say we needed to have them transfer to the ER for a big emergency. If they could get trained to do saline drips, they could transfer from their department to the ER, do their job, go back. This will further train already trained individuals. It will keep rural hospitals more stable with regard to employment. And the Hospital Association indicated that, you know, rural hospitals will really benefit from this program. And also in the long-term care facility, that same kind of thing happens. We could reduce, you know, duplication costs, those kind of things. And training can come to the site instead of going somewhere else. If they could get a few organizations, some long-term care facilities, some rural hospitals together to have someone come in to train on site. Again, efficiencies, and the committee felt like that was a worthwhile ask. So number 14, if you find tourism on your sheet, again, down at the bottom, we added $924,000 to the Commerce EDIF proposal. Number 15, if you go to Build Up Kansas, we, let's see, Build Up Kansas, number 15. There we go. We actually, we only allotted $625,000 for that, so we took $2 million off. No, what did we do? Oh, okay, I'm sorry. And I failed to give credit to my research assistant, Charday, for organizing. Commerce did this, and she did this, and so thank you, Charday. Again, HB 2007 allotted $2 million, and we added another $625,000 to it. Number 16, if you look at the Kansas Arts Commission, the CAIC, the committee voted to add an additional $500,000 for this item. In order for this agency to draw down federal funds, it has to be at 1.5 million, and what was originally proposed was $1,037,000. And so in order to draw down federal funds for nonprofit arts, increasing general operating support, arts education across the state, and programs, the committee felt like this was a good ask in order to get the federal funds. Number 17, if you go to the Kit Kerr line, we added an additional $500,000 to get that up to the $2 million that they asked for. On number 18 was an extra ask that came before the committee for junior achievement. They requested $950,000 total. The committee voted to include $380,000 EDIF for this item for fiscal year 2026. There were a group of students that came to committee and specifically spoke about this three-dimensional education program. It uses business scenarios, case studies to teach about various subjects, thus allowing high schoolers to explore further different career paths. Okay, let's go to page 6, number 19.
It's there, page 4. Only
Oh,
you have the red.
oh, sorry. Sorry, page 4. Number 19, adding almost $250,000 for the operating grant, and that's the top one on your list here. The Commerce felt like they needed $250,000 above what 2007 provided, and so that's what happened. Number 20, we added $178,541 for the international trade program. If you find international trade, she even marked these numbers and now I can't find them. 20 is right in the middle of the page. Yeah, yeah. 21, we added $61,000 EDIF for the rural opportunity zones. If you look up rural opportunity zone, the third one down. Registered apprenticeships, which is about 2/3 of the way down. We added $24,500 to that. We added $15,252 for the Quality Places program. And that is, it used to be community development. And I told Shanae yesterday in committee that when I think of CD, I think of compact disc. So anyway, but that's, we added that. They felt like they needed their original ask. Number 24 is Main Street program. We added $11,679 to that. We added $8,390 for the Governor's Economic Council, about 7 or 8 down. When you look at the Older Kansans Employment Program, the second one, we added right at $5,000. EDIF, these are all EDIF amounts, by the way. The Reemployment Integration, we added $2818, which is right in the middle of the page. Then the Senior Community Service Employment Program, which is fourth one from the top on your supplement sheet. We added $320 to that. And then we added language appropriate to the Northwest Kansas Economic Development Fund and to the existing horse racing facility remodel. And so you can see that Commerce made concessions where they could, and where they felt they needed a little more, as we were able, we gave it back. And the overall budget is pretty close to what 2007 showed. So basically, it was a rearrangement or shifting of funds on Commerce's part. And with that, I'll stand for questions.
All right, thank you, Chair Mosier, and I want to commend your committee for the diligent discussion in regards to EDIF. As I mentioned yesterday, when we were having discussion about this, when the agencies had submitted their requests to the governor, they had this fund $18 million, or about $16 million in the hole. And we made adjustments in 2007, and your committee did the diligent process of going through that and working with Commerce in regards to those items. And I think both we and they made concessions in regards to make sure that this fund is solvent. So my first question is, what is the ending balance of EDIF with these adjustments? And I don't know if Charday has that. Yes, could you please pass those out? So I'd like to see what the ending balance is. I'm hoping it's positive. I'm sure it's positive. So by your budget committee recommendations, we have an ending balance of $3.8 million. Is that correct?
This is fiscal year 25, and the other side is fiscal year 26.
Oh, so we have an ending balance of $181,000, so not as much as I thought it was. All right. The first question, and I've been a proponent of this program in regards to the Sunflower Summer Program, and we have expanded that in the last couple of years because it does get families traveling around the state, and it does generate economic development dollars in regards to if they happen to stay at a hotel or have go dining at our eateries, shopping, whatever the case may be. But you said that they could absorb that within the Department of Commerce's budget with only $1 million affixed to that program?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In a conversation with Commerce, I asked them, the program currently runs from like May 15th to August 15th. It's the whole summer gamut. And I asked Commerce, I said, you send out checks once a week to these vendors that, you know, have received visitors. And I said, look at your time frame and see when the most popular weeks are. When do you put out the most money? When are people traveling? And she said, well, 15th of July to the 15th of August. And I said, bingo, because summer ball games are over, 4-H fairs are for the most part over, and that's when families take vacations. I made the suggestion, condense the time allocation for this, and, you know, that won't take so much money to run the program for a month as it does for 3 months. And then they also suggested that perhaps, you know, if a family goes, that maybe one adult would get in free and the other one would pay, you know, to try to keep the program going, but yet let's rein it in just a little bit so that we can keep it going. And that was that, and they said that, you know, they could work within that dollar amount, making some changes in the program and, you know, refining efficiencies within their department.
Okay, so they're going to be focusing more on that month between July 15th and August 15th and having only one parent or guardian.
Those were the two, you know, brainstorming ideas that we came up with.
Okay, and they're going to implement that with the Department of Commerce.
That's my understanding in a conversation with them.
All right. Well, I think that is a valid rationale. I'd also like to focus on items 20. First, I'll go to 29 and 30. These were items that were appropriated in 2025, and they're just carrying over and may be distributed in 2026. Is that why there's a language added?
That is correct.
All right. And then items 23 to 28, it seems like minor adjustments in regards to these programs. And I'll focus on item number 24. I mean, I was a two-time past president for the local Main Street program in my community. And for a statewide program, I'm just wondering what the addition of $11,600 would do for that program throughout the state.
That was just what they already
Yeah.
received, so that was in there.
And then we also have like $320 for
Right.
the Senior Community Service Employment Program. And what's?
Right. They are minor adjustments, but Commerce felt like, that every dollar that they could have, that they could spend toward those projects, will keep Commerce floating in, I'm really at a loss for words right now.
That's okay.
All I know is Commerce worked really hard, and if they were asking for $320 back on a given situation, or 11,000 back, I'm sure that those funds would be spent appropriately in those programs.
All right. I want to go back to their ask that they had in regards to $1 million for, was it World Cup marketing? We're allocating in a total between fiscal years 25 and 26, $28 million for, I think it's directed towards KC 2026. I don't see where the $1 million was allocated in your committee, but they did ask for it. Can you elaborate on that?
We agreed with the LBC's deletions, and weren't those deletions in the LBC report?
Okay. Did they indicate what they would be doing with the $1 million for marketing?
No, it really never came up because it had already been deleted.
All right. Vice Chair Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I want to second, you did a phenomenal job, so really good job, lots of hard work on that. So I do have some additional questions. Okay, so if we look at item number 12, add 1.1 million EDIF for the broadband development program, and we look at the reports that it says that we've got $12 million in federal funds, is that correct? And they need these dollars to help deploy that $12 million that still exist?
Yes, I believe that this money is used for staffing to go out and oversee the different broadband projects that are happening across the state.
Vice Chair Williams.
All right, thank you. So, but looking at their budget, looking at one of the line items, they have a broadband equity access and deployment. And in that fund, there's $4.1 million. Could we take that instead of out of EDIF from that fund?
Chair Mosier.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Where do you see that? Help me.
Those are expenditures.
The other document, the summary.
Oh, okay. What page are you looking at on
I'm
that?
actually not looking at a page. I actually just requested a report out of all the programs from Commerce.
Okay.
And so I got all the, and there is a $4.1 million expenditure for 2026. I'd like to take this broadband, instead of EDIF, use it out of this broadband equity access and deployment.
Chair Mosier.
Access and deployment. But the agency, that is a part of the governor's recommendation, was to use those federal funds for the agency.
I can say that? Okay.
Well, you can say that you don't know if that is available, but you can do it.
I am not certain that this is available, but I can do some digging and find out before we put the budget back together. If this can be, if the 1.1 million could come out of this instead of EDIF.
Vice Chair Williams.
Okay, well, I'm actually going to offer a series of motions, but I would start with this. I'm going to make a motion that we take that instead of out of EDIF, and we take it from existing broadband programs. And then if we find out that we need to adjust that, we could, because I'd like to free up money for other economic development programs in this instead of using SGF for economic development programs. So with that, I would make a motion that 1.1 be deleted from EDIF and it be taken from the Broadband Equity Access and Deployment Fund.
All right, committee, you've heard the motion. Is there a second? Second by Representative Helgerson. Discussion on the motion. Representative Francis, then Tarwater.
You know, nothing like getting out of my lane a little bit. But I know when the agency came by and talked to me about some of the issues and some of the recommendations, they alluded to me that a lot of the other money that they had in the program was tied to federal grants. And if they had submitted the federal grants differently, possibly that 1.1 million could have came out of it. But that the way the federal grants were designed, they didn't think this was going to happen, so they didn't design the grants that way. Do you know if that money is a federal grant?
So I think I'd have to refer to the analysts on whether those dollars are federal dollars and if those federal dollars for the deployment for equity access can be utilized for the purposes that they want. So I understand that the 1.1 is to assist with the deployment of the $12 million. So I'm not trying to take away from that, but if we have a pot of money for broadband, we should be using that pot of money.
Yeah, no
Francis.
argument on that. But if the grants have already been applied for and used, I mean, I'd like to know whether that money can be used for this.
Vice Chair Williams.
Thank you. So they're federal funds, but can the federal funds be used in this manner? This 4.1.
Again, I think it's an answer from research. Dylan.
Mr. Chairman, we would need more time to research the conditions on that federal grant and to see how those funds and what the agreement was with the Department of Commerce to be able to make that determination.
So I would say if this motion passes, we'll have a notation that will come back next week and then have a determination on whether those funds can be utilized or not for personnel.
Mr. Chairman, we can do that.
All right. Vice Chair Williams.
I would just make a friendly, adjustment to that motion pending they are approved for that type of use.
Is that fine with the second? Representative Helgerson.
I'm happy to do that, but it raises the question about the additional SGF that has come from, I think it was Department of Transportation, with local dollars that when we did the highway program. But there also seems like there were additional federal grants that occurred in the last couple of years. So we should look at the total money that's been distributed and how it's being monitored, which I hope it's being monitored right now. So, yes, I'll be happy to second it, but let's broaden all the information so we get the full picture.
And it's my understanding that the amount of money that's embedded in the IKE program for broadband is actually just for projects and not for personnel. Representative Tarwater.
Thank you, sir. My question's been answered.
Representative Ballard.
Thank you. May I ask the chair a question? I was under the impression that Commerce was told they should try to reduce 7.5%. And it looked like how they arranged this, they were reducing the 7.5 and putting the money where it was most needed according to what they wanted. Am I correct?
That is correct. Thank you, Mr. Chair, Representative. They rearranged it. They actually cut 10%.
I will be opposed to the amendment because they were told what they needed to do, and they went beyond that. And for us to come back and take additional money, I know we are probably rearranging it. It almost negates all of the work that they really did to meet the requirement and at the same time meet their needs as well. So for that reason, I will be opposed to it.
Representative Curtis.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I feel very strongly about our investments in broadband. It is essential infrastructure, and until everybody in this state has it, I think that our investments in broadband to make sure that we do indeed have broadband across our state are dollars well spent.
Any further discussion on the motion? Representative Helverson.
And as I appreciate the words that were said by my colleague, who I respect a great deal, that is the whole problem. Is anyone asking the question, how much does it cost to get to that last mile to the individual that lives out in the hinterlands? Or are we spending the money in a wise way? Technology is out there for other opportunities to get them connected, not just necessarily through broadband. And my problem with this unlimited amount of money that we continually spend and say, well, we want to reach everyone. I agree we want to reach most everyone that we can. But we look at other technologies and we do some kind of analysis on what it makes financial sense. And that's not what's going on. In fact, I heard that the testimony last year, the year before, was no matter how much money we gave them, they will never be able to reach the end of serving everyone. Well, you know, there comes a limit in this.
Any further discussion on the motion? Seeing none, Representative Williams, you may close.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I close.
All right, committee, you've heard the motion. All those in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. Opposed? No. The ayes appear to have it. Ayes do have it. Motion passes. Vice Chair Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Look forward to hearing back on that item. The next item I would like to take a look at is the item number 14, add $924,000 for the EDIF for tourism. So if you look on that tourism, we have been funding it. Let's see, 2026 base is 4.9 million. And so is there a proposal to be at 4.9 with this addition?
Chair Mosier.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes.
Vice Chair Williams.
Okay, so we just recently in Commerce passed changes to the tourism board, and I believe it's this tourism board that allocates the funds for this. They provide grants, there's applications for it. It's a variety of different types of grants that are at the local level. It's a nice program, but I think that there are some competing interests of other things. And so I would make a motion that we delete that. We do not add an additional 924. We keep it at the amount that had been in HB 2007, which is basically $4 million instead of 4.9 million. It's still a really nice fund. It provides opportunity for the board to grant those grants. We're just not increasing that. And again, this is for savings so that we can put all of our economic development expenditures into this, such as K-State 105.
All right, committee, you've heard the motion. Is there a second? Second by Representative Hoffman. Discussion on the motion. Representative Rogers.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I was talking, being on the committee, I think that some of the discussion, the reason why that was basically put back in to make them whole because of the whatever the thing is, you know.
Semi-quincentennial.
Yeah, exactly. So that was the thinking, is because of all the other projects and some of the other and that summer travel program being short and coming to an end as well with that. But that was, I'm not advocating with it. I'm just that was part of the discussion. The reason why to make that whole was because that would limit some of the plans I think that they would like to do around the state through the Department of Tourism. Just for a point of reference. Thank you.
Representative Estes.
I chair that committee, and there's a definite sunset because the semi-sesquicentennial will come, and we will not need money for that anymore. But to take that money away would very greatly hamper our ability. And most of the things that we're doing, we're raising private funds for. So that $73,000 is quite essential to us.
Any further discussion on the motion? Representative Hoffman.
Yeah, this is not taking the 73,000. This is number 14, the tourism. This isn't number 5.
Any further discussion on the motion? All right, seeing none, Vice Chair Williams, you may close.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So the fund is there. There's a significant amount of money that we contribute so that this tourism board can make allocations. We're not saying they cannot make allocations. We're just not giving the enhancement. So it's always just a matter of what is enough. I'm sure that if this board had $5 million, they would successfully be able to give out $5 million in grants. For the purposes of this, it's simply not to increase the enhancement. So I close.
All right, committee, you've heard the motion. All those in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. Opposed? No. The ayes appear to have it. Ayes do have it. Motion passes. Vice Chair Williams?
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I also wanted to ask a question about item number 16, the add 500,000 EDIF for the Kansas Arts Commission. How much would that put in total amount for the commission for 2026?
Chair Mosier.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. 1.5 million.
Vice Chair Williams.
So the 500,000, so originally the amount that was to be appropriated was 1 million. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Chair Mosier.
Sorry. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, working off of HB 2007, it was 1 million, and we added 500,000.
Vice Chair Williams.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm going to hold off on that particular item. I do have another item, the apprenticeship program. Let's see, what number is that? Oh, yes, it's 22, the registered apprenticeship program. I know you're going to do that. But I just wanted to know the balance. It looks like that program has $2.5 million. Is that correct?
Chair Mosier.
Federal funds that she's looking at, not EDIF. The balance is 1.0 million.
Okay. The dollars you're looking at are federal dollars. The amount from EDIF is what's on this sheet, 1.024 million.
Vice Chair Williams. Dylan, did you have?
All right, thank you. All right, I think I just have a couple more, and then I'm totally done. So that number 13, the healthcare upscaling training program. How long has that program been in place?
Chair Mosier.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. That is a new training program that will start in 2026.
Vice Chair Williams.
Thank you. Who is actually overseeing that training program?
Chair Mosier.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It would be under the umbrella of the Department of Commerce for them to put out a grant program to execute these different trainings and things.
Vice Chair Williams.
All right, thank you. Okay, so this motion is really to, I think it was yesterday, I kind of lost track of the days, we voted for the K-State 105, and it was supposed to be an economic development program. It seems to be a little unclear of which direction, but it's related to the Kansas extension. And it seems to me that if we're going to be funding K-State 105, couple things. Number one, we should move them, and it shouldn't be SGF funding, it should be EDIF funding. So my motion would include that we move the K-State 105 program into the EDIF and fund it that way. And secondly, this item number 13 be wrapped into, so it's still $4 million, I'm not increasing it. This program gets wrapped into K-State 105's mission. They have nursing program. They can then take this on, and it's not a new program through Commerce. It's actually through the K-State 105, and it sounds to me that they already have programs with KU and elsewhere, and it just seems like it would be housed better than create a brand-new program. So it would be, then my motion would be to eliminate 13, but include that into K-State 105, and move K-State 105's program to EDIF instead of SGF.
All right, you've heard the motion, seconded by Representative Howe. Discussion on the motion. Representative Tarwater.
Thank you. And I don't think that K-State has a nursing program at all. No. KU does, but K-State does not. So I don't know how that'll work, but I mean, I don't have a problem deleting this. I mean, we have apprenticeship programs. We added them to the apprenticeship program last year, that when we passed it, we made it a grant program for hospitals and nonprofits versus a tax credit. And so I don't know, I'm not sure what this program exactly is, but I know that K-State currently does not have a nursing program, and I don't know that you want to create a nursing program at another school. Thank you.
Vice Chair Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Definitely do not want to start another nursing program, but it still might be, I still do want to delete this item, and the healthcare mission, or this training mission still could be incorporated through K-State 105 programs, because I do believe that they coordinate healthcare with the University of Kansas for one of their programs, and other universities throughout the state. So I feel like starting a brand new program under Commerce for healthcare, that doesn't make a lot of sense to me. We should actually incorporate that into our universities instead of starting a brand new program.
Representative Helgerson. Shonda.
Last year, we had a subcommittee that talked about the needs for nursing and other healthcare facilities for our state hospitals. We got into several discussions, but we also had testimony that said it is not a new phenomenon, that we have had community colleges, local entities and local partnerships trying to recruit, train nursing home, for nursing homes and for hospitals, more nurses, more assistants. Yesterday, we had a hearing in tax about giving credits to the same type of personnel we're trying to change. I'll go back to my comments yesterday, and that is we have different agencies that are trying to get additional money to fund a problem, but we are not looking at specifically who's in charge of getting the problem fixed, and are they going to be measured. I agree with this proposal to take the money out, because I don't think Commerce is the one. Maybe it's community colleges, maybe it's the Board of Regents. We clearly need more training, but I don't think this is the way to handle it.
Representative Howe.
Yes, I appreciate the conversation about the registered apprenticeship program earlier, because the budget report out we did for the Board of Regents, in that recommendation, there's 14.3 million SGF for the 2-year college apprenticeship account. And so I see many different entities, many different budgets that have different initiatives regarding the same workforce issue. But like the previous speaker said, it doesn't seem to be a unified approach. So I do think we need to take a close look at that, Mr. Chairman.
Representative Francis.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And this would be a question for Representative Williams. Have you had questions or conversations with K-State 105 and they feel like that they're the best place to handle this program?
Vice Chair Williams.
So I've had conversations with them regarding moving their funding over to EDIF, and of course, that's not a concern. In terms of this, I think that I would amend the motion to just remove the $1 million for the healthcare upskilling and then allow and put no requirement on K-State 105, but perhaps listening in, they can be looking at this along with KBOR. And to Representative Helgerson's point, who is taking charge of this issue? And I agree, it shouldn't be the Department of Commerce in this, unless it was through an existing program that we are now funding, which would be K-State 105. So
I guess that's part of the problem I have with this whole proposal. I mean, if we're doing it just to kill this program and give money to K-State 105, I think that's a valid conversation. But I think when we have a budget committee that has vetted some of this stuff, Commerce has vetted some of this stuff, and then we say, hey, we don't want you to do it, but we're going to give it to somebody that we haven't even discussed it with, I think that's probably not the best way for us to make policy. So I appreciate changing the motion.
All right. The motion has been altered, so is that fine with the second? Representative Howe?
So the motion is, I guess the proposed change, could you restate that just so I'm clear?
Vice Chair Williams.
sure. The motion is to transfer the K-State 105 program under the EDIF so that we could have a better idea of what its full mission is. That's just a little parenthesis. And then to delete number 13. And then I think that would be an appropriate thing for us to review what other entities are actually attacking this problem. And you had mentioned some other programs, and so we just delete it from this at this time.
Chairman Howe.
Yes, I'm comfortable with that. Thank
All
you.
right. So the motion has been modified. Chair Mosier.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I did not do my due diligence to find out who oversees this program within Commerce. I think this is a very valuable program for the medical profession in Kansas and for rural Kansas. And so if it gets eliminated today, I would strongly urge that it gets put in someplace else. Thank you.
Representative Ballard.
I'd like to just follow up on that. You indicated it's thank you, Mr. Chair, a new program. Do we know what this new program does before we start moving it someplace?
Chair Mosier.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Like I said, I did not do my due diligence to find out the details. And so that is something that I'll have conversations with people, and we'll nail it down as far as, you know, who would oversee it, depending on where it ends up in whatever budget. And then I'm asking for a, you know, a quarterly, whatever, report out on how the monies are going out, what trainings are being done, how many people are being certified for these crossover positions, that kind of thing. So, thank you.
Ballard.
I will agree with her that if we're going to eliminate it, at least we should find out what it really does. Just because we say healthcare upskilling training, that could be in whatever area. Maybe they have a more specific area they're aimed at, and we don't know enough about it to just delete it. But I guess if you're leaving the money open to look at, no, I'm opposed to it.
Representative Howe.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The only comment I want to make is regarding K-State 105. I know that's come up quite a lately. Basically, there's no statutory authorization that dictates a set of metrics for K-State 105. When it was initiated, it was really conceptual. It was an idea, and the legislature put some money behind it, but really there's nothing in statute that says K-State 105 is charged with X, Y, and Z. And so it's all been on kind of a handshake, if you will. They've assured us they want to focus in on these areas, but they're really not bound to anything in statute. So I have concerns about that, just kind of a conceptual program, and it's kind of squishy. It's hard to put your finger on sometimes. And so that's just a general comment as we move forward. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Representative Hoy.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It does say in the budget summary that this is a grant program that would be used to fund existing training programs for long-term care facilities, health systems, hospitals. So I don't think it's creating brand new training programs. It's funding additional funding that can be offered through grant process for existing programs. And they also noted in here that approximately 20% of job openings on the Kansas Work website are in the healthcare field. So this seems like an opportunity to provide some advancement to people looking for jobs and increase our skilled labor workforce. So I'll be opposing this. Thank you.
Representative Rogers.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This was brought forth in discussions with the Kansas Hospital Association, and I think we've kind of gone down this path of nursing and creating more nurse positions, and I offered this addition. It's not for rural Kansas only. It's not for western Kansas. So let's dispel that right away. What this is our communities, specifically or particularly that is, our critical access hospitals, which Kansas has the most in the country for a state, is that these nurses, we all know, we have this nursing crisis. How many hours did we spend talking about what goes on at Lawrence State Hospital? So what this is in some of our communities that have nurses but are not trained to do certain things. That's what this program is. Instead of, say, a nurse doesn't have the time, or the hospital or the clinic cannot afford to have a nurse gone to Kansas City, say from St. Francis. That's what this is. This would say, of these grants, you would set up and have a trainer, say, go to Salina. If you're in central Kansas, you may be able to travel 60 miles in, a group from other hospitals, other clinics to do that. This is what this program is about. I think all of us are in agreement with the part of, is Commerce the best place to put it? Don't know. That's where it begins. If it's 105, because what 105 does with KU, with their health center, is to work in these smaller communities of trying to find some healthcare solutions. And so I don't necessarily know if it's a bad thing. This was kind of a new concept this morning that we're hearing. The whole idea of this is not for a community college training. This is probably maybe a day or two, so that they can do various things, and so they're trained so that they don't have to wait maybe a day or two to have a specialist come in and do that. So this is enhancing the opportunity and the offerings that some of our critical access hospitals and our smaller medical folks can do. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Chair Mosier.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I've had a chance to go back through and find some of my notes regarding this particular program. It is all across Kansas. It's not focused on rural, and it does focus on the medical profession, both in hospitals and in long-term care facilities. And a specific example of what this would do. You have lab techs that draw blood, phlebotomists that come in and take a couple vials once a year to test for things when you're having your physical. These lab techs would be trained to be able to do a saline drip in case the hospital had a massive car wreck nearby and three to 10 people come in that need triage right away. they can call a lab tech to come over and start a saline drip. But those specialties have to be upskilled. And it's not waiting for a doctor, it's basic care. And so, and like I said earlier, having, if you have small rural hospitals, long-term care facilities are always short of these kinds of positions, and they could pool together and have one class, maybe a 1 or a 2-day class to upskill these people to go from I shouldn't say from drawing blood, because I could never do that, to starting saline drips or other basic ER healthcare activities that, that they could do that would free up our already short of hand nurses so they can do the things they're qualified to do. So it's upskill when needed, and basically this model has kind of come after the Kit Kerr from the manufacturing side, where they upskill laborers to do certain specific jobs. That's the model that this program has come after. We will maximize the existing workforce, and basically it's a small investment to retain employees and have them be able to do more specialized work. And so that's my support for this.
Representative Estes.
I love this idea on the surface because it really does solve a lot of problems. It's realistic and doable, I think. But so my question is, has this been piloted or tried anywhere to see if people would take advantage of it and come back to it and use it? Do we have any proof of concept?
Chair Mosier.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Representative. To my knowledge, we do not have, there is not a pilot program in place, and I can check on that, but this is a program that is modeled after a successful program that's working in manufacturing. And so applying it to the medical profession where we are short of help, the potential, I believe, is great for success.
Representative Howell.
Yeah. Mr. Chairman, I appreciate the explanation because it does resonate with me, because I had a conversation with my hospital before session about upskilling. But so I appreciate the discussion here. But I was thinking there was legislation that was being proposed. I didn't know if Chairman Carpenter had any information about any proposed legislation that would speak to upskilling.
Representative Carpenter.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Not at this time. The bills haven't been read in. I think there were some introduced, and I have a huge list of bills that, and I believe one of them is a nursing scholarship program through the Kansas Hospital Association. But I got a list this morning of about 10 bills that we've introduced in our committee, but I have not seen yet. So I'm hoping to get those. I couldn't speak definitively, but while with the Chairman's permission, I might speak.
Yes.
On a different issue. I mean, I'm on the same issue, but I might comment on this if that's okay with the Chairman. So I understand there's a lot of valid points here made. The representative from Wichita makes a good one, because I am curious about all these scholarship programs that are going on, and duplications and all that kind of stuff. There should be a single point of contact to run these things. But I also, when we're getting into this, and I've sat here and bit my tongue pretty much, but, and so I'm just going to go off. Why do we need budget committees if we're second-guessed and questioned? We do hearings. I mean, you would not believe. I would challenge anybody to come sit in some of these budget hearings and hear the discussions that we have around and over. And upside down on these issues. And then we come here and it's a second bite at it that people have not heard the discussions that we've had about those items and stuff. And I'm just really kind of disturbed about the second guessing that's going on here in this budget process. I appreciate the scrutiny, I really do. I appreciate the members' extra effort to go in and do this, but I think that at some point in time, it's just not, why do we need budget committees? Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm off my soapbox.
Well, and I'll answer that question. And I mean, you've served on this committee for many years. And I mean, I'm a former budget chairman for general government budget. And when I was chairman of that committee, we looked at 27 budgets of the 98. This committee looks at all 98. A budget committee only has a piece of the pie. And we have to actually reconstruct the budget back together. Yes, this committee is going to make modifications. I mean, as a member of this committee, that is why you were selected to be on this committee, because we have to look at the holistic budget and not just a piecemeal of budgets that are in a budget committee. There are going to be modifications. We're not going to rubber stamp everything that comes from a budget committee. And that's the way it's never been that way. Budget committees serve a purpose, yes. They hold the hearings, they do deliberations, but then we, as members of this committee, have to put the entire budget back together and not just a handful. Representative Sutton.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I agree with your answer. I was going to spell it a little bit differently, however, and just say I can't sit on all of them.
Any further discussion on the motion? Representative Ballard.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with the former who spoke. And one of the reasons why I am defending what Commerce is doing, we asked them to do certain things, they did it. They went through, they got very creative. You can see how long it took her to go through doing this. But I would also say, I'm also in many ways defending social services, even though it's a totally different budget. Because if you sit through 50 conferees and you listen to all the things people have to say, not everybody can know what we do in social services, no more than I can know what they did in Commerce. But if I was given directions of what I was supposed to do and I did my job, and I eliminated and went even further than that, and then somebody will look at it and say, oh, well, I don't like this, well, I don't like that, and they don't know all of it. Maybe not all the details were given. But I think at some point we should respect that the other people spent their time trying to do the best job they could. It doesn't mean you don't scrutinize it, that we don't look at it and say, no, that won't fly, that's not going to happen. But where is maybe they were the experts in that area, and do we respect it? But just to say, I'm going to cross it off because it doesn't belong in Commerce, or I want it off, or that. I don't think that is giving due diligence to it. Maybe you should go a little bit farther, or let's look into it, find out what it is. Maybe it doesn't belong in Commerce. Where should it go? But I'm willing to respect the work that the other people did, even though I might disagree with it. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Representative Helgerson.
You know, one of the things that was hard to learn for me in here is that you have to park your feelings and your ego at the door. I work so hard on these budgets, don't you dare touch them. We come into this committee and we don't have the full perspective of what the 125 of us have. We have a limited perspective. And the gentleman that I love dearly from Butler County and I disagree many times, but not because we don't agree with trying to solve the problem, but we come from a little bit different angle or at different times. I mentioned earlier This committee may or may not have the perspective of what's going on in the tax committee and to see the pressures that's going on and what may happen. Some of us may have not the opportunity of serving on special committees that met last year or the year before to deal with this exact problem. Sometime what we have to do is say, it's not the work product, it's what we're trying to accomplish. All of us in this room agree that we have to create a planning program for training more nurses, assistants, helping out the hospitals, the nursing homes, because we want them all to survive. Sometimes we have to say, well, I like your proposal, but we need to broaden it to a bigger vision of what we need for this state. I'm not, this motion that is being proposed, I'm going to support, because I know that in a couple days, we're going to have a $40 million nut on how we deal with the state hospitals. And, you know, that's bigger problem in my mind, because we don't want to steal the hospitals and the technical staff from everybody else. We want to create new people. And maybe this proposal will be that one if we look at it in the broader sense.
Any further discussion on the motion? All right, seeing none. Vice Chair Williams may close.
I close.
All right, committee, you've heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? No. The ayes appear to have it. Division has been called. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign. Motion passes on a vote from 11 to 9. Vice Chair Williams.
All right, thank you. This is my last motion here. I make a motion that we withhold $1 million from Department of Commerce's administration line item, not EDIF, until such time that they provide the legislature the amount of expenditures by program that we've requested for 2 years for economic development incentives. So annual expenditures, the amount that they're expending and the amount that they could. So the amount that's claimed and the amount that is available by, and I think it's over $1 billion, but we don't really know what we're spending. And so until they do that, we withhold $1 million.
You've heard the motion, seconded by Representative Walsinger. Discussion on the motion, Representative Helgerson.
Said spending, are you talking about credits also?
Vice Chair Williams.
Yes, I am. So if you look at the transparency database, there's quite a lengthy list of programs. And so I think it would be important for us to know, and I would modify that just to say that we're looking for anything that would impact SGF. So if there are federal dollars that are coming in for a CBDG grant, I'm not so concerned with those dollars, but what I am concerned with is anything that's going to impact our budget. And I think there's probably maybe $1 billion. We don't know for sure.
Is that modification okay with the second? Discussion on the motion? Seeing none, Vice Chair Williams, you may close.
I close.
All right, committee, you've heard the motion. All those in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes appear to have it. Ayes do have it. Motion passes. And you're done, right? Okay. I didn't mean to make it sound like that. Representative Hoffman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I wanted to go, I'm going to have a couple of amendments here. I think I'll start with the first one with the number 16, the Kansas Arts Commission. I would move that we delete the 500,000. I know they say that they need 1,500, but they're still going to have $1 million to work with for them to go after federal grants. I think they'll be okay. They've actually gotten a lot less of that in the past, so $1 million is pretty generous. So that would be my motion, and yeah, I'll just stick with that one for right now.
All right, committee, you've heard the motion. Is there a second? Second by Representative Sutton. Discussion on the motion. Representative Curtis.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So last year, we were finally able to get the Kansas Arts Commission budget up to 1.5 million, which allows us to draw down all of our federal funds. Last year, 1.3 million of those dollars went out into our communities to support arts programs. As we talk about trying to get people to move back to Kansas and to keep our folks staying in Kansas, I think the arts play a very important role in that. We have to have cultural amenities. We have to have things for people to do. And when you look at how the arts have enlivened the landscape of Kansas with the beautiful murals that people actually will go to Salina and other places to just see, I think that $1.5 million is well spent, particularly given that 1.3 million of that actually went back out into our communities last year. So I oppose that. Thank you.
Any further discussion on the motion? Representative Alcala.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have to agree with my colleague. I have an area in my district, it's called the Noto area, and some of you have probably been through there. But it's really, the artsy community has really increased, and it's really, we've got more murals there, and they're presently working on several murals in my neighborhood. It is eliminated, well, and through assistance to the arts program, it has really been a big asset with elimination of graffiti and vandalism on some of the buildings we have. I think it's growing, and so I think the additional money is not a lot, but I think it does help assist in the program and reach it out in communities. Thank you.
Representative Howell.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Since my hometown was mentioned, I just wanted to comment that we do have a very vibrant arts community, actually funded by local taxpayers through the city of Salina. And so that's a local thing. And the mural projects are extraordinary, but they're privately funded. So I just wanted to make that comment. Thank you.
Representative Sutton.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. That's where I was going. I'm a big fan of art, but state-sponsored art, that's an entirely different animal.
Any further discussion on the motion? Seeing none, Representative Hoffman, you may close.
I close.
All right, committee, you've heard the motion. All those in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. Opposed? No. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. Motion passes. Representative Hoffman.
Okay, so I'll just make maybe this easier, but I'm going to make a motion that we delete 19 through 28 in the Budget Committee report. That basically takes them back, those amounts back to the 2007 level for 2026. And for most of those, it's a very small amount, but the biggest one would be, the biggest two would be the International Trade Program and the operating grant. Still, the operating grant is still more than they were getting in '24. And I personally think that Commerce has some issues that they need to deal with in how they treat some of our communities, and which that might, more information might come later on that, but I just think that they can take a little bit of a haircut. So I would just move that 19 through 28 be eliminated in the report.
All right, you've heard the motion. Is there a second? Second by Representative Williams. Discussion on the motion. Representative Francis.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Do you know what, I don't know what the operating grants are used for, and I don't know, was the trade thing an increase where they were funding a position, or, I mean, I just don't know enough about it to know.
Representative Hoffman.
Yeah, the international. It's only 178 less than what they were asking for. So, oh, sorry. It's only 178 less than what they're asking for. and 1.3 million less than 24. So evidently, it's not something that's terribly important to them.
And what's the operating, what do they use the operating grants for?
Representative Hoffman. Chair Mosier, do you have an answer to that question?
So that is all of
I should know since I
catch-up, that's everything else essentially.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It is basically their operating fund, kind of like you have an operating expense on the ranch, operating account.
Representative Francis.
And do you know how much that budget line item is now?
Chair Mosier.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. According to this sheet from Commerce, it's right at $9,699,069.
Okay, thank you.
Any further discussion on the motion? Representative Ballard.
Thank you. So you're eliminating 11 budgets. Didn't he say 19 through 28?
I'm eliminating the increases and going back to HB 2007 amounts.
Representative Ballard.
I will oppose the amendment.
Any further discussion on the motion? Representative Tarwater.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to comment on number 20, the International Trade Program. It's my understanding that that is their Japan office, and they are having tremendous success in Japan in courting companies to move to the state of Kansas. And so I just want to make sure that if you're removing these funds, you're not also removing the ability to have that office, because it's important.
Representative Hoffman.
Nope, simply just removing the 178,000. And, you know, my feeling is if they're having more success in one office, then maybe they need to abandon an office that they're not having as much success in and go for it.
Okay, thanks.
Any further discussion on the motion? All right, seeing none, Representative Hoffman, you may close.
I close.
All right, committee, you've heard the motion. All those in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Opposed? No. This one, I'd say the noes appear to have it. Division has been called. All those in favor of the motion, raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign. I'm showing a vote 11 to 8, so I don't think some members voted. So the motion passes. I was wrong. Further discussion in regards to the Department of Commerce's budget. Representative Hoy.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, I had zero intention of doing this because I did think that the committee's budget was very well done and very specific and thorough. But now, given some of these additional cuts in a year where we are going to see a very large increase in tourism, especially international tourism, I am concerned that we're not going to be able to really attract and communicate to those guests when they land in Missouri and inform them that, in fact, they're not in Kansas, come on over. So I would like to make a motion to add $924,398 for World Cup marketing.
Committee, you've heard the motion. Is there a second? Yes. Seconded by Representative Ballard. Discussion on the motion. Representative Tarwater.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Going back to your original comments on this, we've reserved money for this, and the agreement was that would be our all-in, and that we would get the funds back from them for things that we needed like this. And so this motion I don't think is needed. It would be an additional $1 million spending on World Cup when we're already in it for whatever it was, 28 million.
A total of 28 million over fiscal years 25 to 26, and that actually reserves me from making the comments again. So
Thank you.
We have $28 million going to KC 2026. There's marketing that's going on with that. And we're going to have a discussion, actually Representative Curtis and I were talking before the committee meeting started, on exactly what they are planning on doing with the $28 million. But I do concur with Representative Tarwater. Representative Sutton.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Wasn't there supposed to be some oversight from Kansas legislators on the expense of that, of the spending of that $28 million?
That was the intent.
Didn't happen?
That's why we're going to have a follow-up.
Well, then, we certainly need to keep the powder dry on clawing back whatever's left of that $28 million if we don't have oversight on it.
Representative Curtis.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I appreciate my colleague's motion. I too am concerned, just in general, just want to make the statement that there are community needs beyond what the KC26 is asking for. And so for my community, definitely just having clarification on how those funds will be spent and the ability to access and to make those requests would be very helpful.
Any further discussion on the motion? All right, seeing none, Representative Hoy, you may close.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I do appreciate that we have contributed and that, and I understand that, but I do think that this money going specifically to Commerce does give some flexibility to be able to help our local communities and expand our own, the way we want to present ourselves to our visitors. So with that, I would close and move the amendment. Thank you.
All right, committee, you've heard the motion. All those in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. Opposed? No. The noes appear to have it. The noes do have it. Motion fails. Back on the budget, Representative Helverson.
The money for junior achievement, is that still in?
Chair Mosier. I believe it is, yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm sorry, Representative, you're asking about the junior achievement?
Yeah, with the with the amendments that were made, I was just checking. Is it still in? The 380,000?
I'm showing that it is.
Okay.
Yes.
Can you explain why a individual private business that has been built on the idea of businesses helping individuals, not governmental assistance, and clearly that has been the foundation of junior achievement, is now deciding to publicly cross the line and want to have governmental assistance for these programs?
Chair Mosier.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, that is what they have done. They want to specifically use this for a three-dimensional program in which they would study business scenarios and case studies to teach various subjects. These funds would allow it to go through to 4 other schools and cover the costs associated with implementing those programs.
Is it a statewide program or a local program?
Chair Mosier.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Junior achievement, I believe, reaches across the whole state, right? It's a statewide program.
Representative Helgerson.
Okay, I'll make a motion to take out the $380,000. Fundamentally, it has always been a program that is fostered and assisted by private business and encouraging private business and individuals and youngsters in high school in particular to develop their business sense and to succeed. But it has not had any state or federal funds that I'm aware of. So I'll make the motion to pull out the $380,000.
All right, committee, you've heard the motion. Is there a second? Seconded by Representative Hoffman. Discussion on the motion. Representative Ballard.
We have a junior achievement in Lawrence, and I'm sure other places do, and some of it is funded. I think there could be some areas in the state of Kansas, since you have 105 counties, that may not be able to do extensive fundraising in order to support it. So I think we have to look at the whole state and what's available. And because a particular area may not be able to do as much fundraising, or don't have as many members, or they don't have as many economic development opportunities, that those young people should be denied those opportunities. And I think if you came before Commerce or any other place to make it possible, you should. So I will be opposed.
Any further discussion? Representative Rogers.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. If I recall in committee, this is a one-time, it's kind of a pilot to get it started. I believe it's one school now, and then it's expanding to 4, and so on. So this is to show to private investors the success. Students came and made presentations based on anything from manufacturing to Delta Airlines, how you make that, the problem they were having was some, getting people moved, from they load planes and so on, looking at these things for young people, young high schoolers, higher achievers that are doing this. So that's kind of what this is. I understand the representative from Wichita. You're right, but we could go through everything and we'd have $3.87 left if to go do roads and K-12. So it's whatever the committee wants to do, but this is a start, and it's not being distributed over 105 counties. This is just a beginning to show, to expand and see how this is an opportunity for our high business-minded young folks.
Any further discussion on the motion? Representative Mosier.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I will point out that this is specifically for this 3-dimensional educational program. It's not just money for junior achievement in general. Thank you.
Any other further discussion? Seeing none, Representative Helgerson, you may close.
Junior achievement talks about, 70 years ago, 50, 60, 70 years ago. This is what builds individuals that are in their teenagers, the idea of having a private business and working separately from government to accomplish things in your community. It is that partnership between private business and teaching young people that has made it successful, not only here in Kansas, but across the country. The idea that suddenly we're going to put in $300 and some thousand for a worthwhile idea is great, but we don't start another program. We tell them, hey, the idea and what's necessary is work with private businesses to contribute part of that and work in that partnership to make the product that you're supposed to sell successful. And if they need training, there are community colleges across the state or universities that are there to do that. We don't need another program and another funding at this point in our status. I move the motion.
All right, committee, you've heard the motion. All those in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. Opposed? No. The noes appear to have it. Division. Division's been called. All those in favor of the motion, raise your right hand. 3, 4, 5, 6. Opposed, same sign. I was showing a vote from 9 to 10, so the motion fails. Any further discussion in regards to the Department of Commerce? Representative Helgeson.
I'm a little confused. The green sheet shows that public broadcasting has gone from $500,000 to $700,000. Is that correct? Is that where it stands now?
Chair Mosier.
Yes, that is correct. The where am I at here? Yes, the allocation was $500,000. HB 2007 took it up to $700,000. Commerce said they could live with $500,000. Committee decided to put back in the $200,000.
How
Representative
are you
Helgerson.
putting it in?
EDIF.
Chair Mosier.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. EDIF funds.
I understand, but how is it being distributed?
Chair Mosier.
To my understanding, they have a specific breakdown that they use each year. It's allocated.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It is my understanding that they have a specific allocation each year for the different entities that do public broadcasting, and that's how it's distributed. We could find out from Commerce.
No, I'm familiar with the division. Did you consider that last year or the year before we had put in extra money to build a new station somewhere?
Representative Mosier.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was unaware of that.
Okay. I will make a motion to move it back from 500, back to the 500 level where it's been for several years.
Actually, last year it was 700,000 in the budget bill.
Was it?
Yes.
Missed another one. I will make a motion, move it back to the $500,000 then.
All right. You've heard the motion. Second by Representative Sutton. Discussion on the motion. Representative Alcala.
Actually, I was part of that motion. It was another representative that made it to come out of, I think, general fund. But I was trying to keep it at the same allocation as it was last year. So I've campaigned a couple years, one for my wife and one for myself. And I found out over this last summer, this is not an exaggeration, I bet 30–40% people that are homeschooling their children are using PBS and that as part of the curriculum, as part of the daytime education for them.
That's a terrible idea.
And not only that, they're Republicans. And no, really, that's serious. I'm not joking with you. That my largest constituent base, they are using it for that. And then I found out there was a lot of seniors that all they do is watch public television because of the emergency alerts was one of the reasons. And then the other reason is it has a big diverse crowd. I mean, it does. It has a lot of people from all different backgrounds that watch it. So my amendment was to try to keep it the same without adding more or cutting, although the 200,000 was keeping it the same as last year. So I would oppose your motion, Henry.
Any further discussion on the motion? Seeing none, Representative Helgerson, you may close.
How many stations do we have in Kansas? You don't have to answer it. Is there any kind of consolidation where the signal could be brought from one area to another for cooperative, more cost efficiency? No. We keep funding the same model even though the whole broadcast area is a different model now. And, you know, in Wichita, we have a station that has a brand new facility. They can continually complain about that they don't have enough money from the state, but they had enough money to do a lot of enhancements. I just urge us, you know, to look and encourage them to start making some of the consolidation and modernization that's necessary in today's world.
You close? All right, committee, you've heard the motion. All those in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. Opposed? No. Noes appear to have it. Division's been called. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign. Motion passes on a vote from 12 to 8. Any further discussion on the Department of Commerce? Representative Tarwater.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I had a question on number 2. What was the discussion around the Kansas Sports Hall of Fame? Would that have to do with the College Baseball Hall of Fame that is moving to Overland Park?
Chair Mosier, I believe, and I may be able to answer that, there was an allocation for, this is in Abilene, I believe. And this was an allocation that was made, I want to say, in 24 and 25 for the executive director, and they do not need it in 26. I believe that's correct from my knowledge of the budget.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Commerce came to us already having deleted those two from their budget, so there was no discussion.
Okay. I believe that's what it was for.
Okay.
Representative Rogers?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll be very quick. The new one coming, this was because they moved it, and with all the change with the executive director, yes, it was not needed anymore. So that's why it was been deleted. So that would be something completely different. Thank you.
Representative Tarwater?
All right, well, thank you for that answer. My other question was there any discussion on the apprenticeship program specific to the school piece, the para-to-teacher program that is not being funded currently in the Department of Commerce for one reason or another? There was something that might have been needed to tweak or something in a proviso to be able to provide those apprenticeships, and that was an important part of the program. So was there discussion on that?
Representative or Chair Mosier?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. You're talking about the language changes? No. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It was not discussed.
There was no discussion on that program. All right. So I may have more information on that later when we put the budget together, sir. Thanks.
Any further discussion in regards to the Department of Commerce? Vice Chair Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Super fast. I think our chair did an extraordinary job, and I just want her to know that she was able to answer every question that was asked. And I truly appreciate the chairwoman.
Any further discussion? All right, seeing none, Chair Mosier, and entertain a motion.
In quick closing, I told you all to buckle up. I appreciate the work of the Budget Committee. I appreciate my revisors, Luke, Dylan, Ariana, Charday, and I also realize what we have to do here in Appropriations. I just wanted to put that out there, that I appreciate my committee. I appreciate what we try to do in here to be fiscally responsible. One thing I will say again, and no matter where it ends up, I truly believe that upskilling money should be placed somewhere in the budget. Maybe it doesn't belong in Commerce, but I think it would be something that will help this state financially. And with that, I move that the Committee on Ag and Natural Resources budget recommendations to the House Committee on Appropriations be adopted for the Department of Commerce for fiscal year 2025-2026 as amended and provided in HB 2007.
All right, committee, you've heard the motion, seconded by Representative Estes. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. Motion passes. Okay, we got through one budget today. So I made the comment yesterday that in order to get everything wrapped up by tomorrow, and we do have a litany of other budgets that we need to get through. So I'll probably make an announcement on the House floor that we'll be resuming discussion in regards to the budgets at 5 o'clock in this room. So just to let everybody know that we will recess and then come back at 5 p.m. to get through as many budgets as we possibly can this evening and then also in tomorrow. So until then, we are in recess.
I think people will give you the money. I don't think the money is like,
Yeah.